Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming News. What's in the news today? A legend. The legend of Dragoon. All right, before we jump into it, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff helps keep you up to date with the things we like to talk about, video games, which are the greatest. Speaking of greatest, let's talk about one of the greatest RPGs of its day, Legend of Dragoon. So, in an article from Games Radar, beloved PS1 JRPG Legend of Dragoon was not meant to be a Final Fantasy VII killer. Super Mario RPG's battle designer just said, I want to make a new RPG. Love it. While Sony's late era PS1 Legend of Dragoon became a cult classic, it was often seen at the time as a pretty direct imitator of the Final Fantasy series. While the success of Square Enix's role-playing series might have helped convince PlayStation to foot a bill for its $15 million development budget, Legend of Dragoon only happened in the first place because its developers genuinely wanted to make it. It wasn't being built to fight Squall. It was just Cloud, excuse me. I got the best one mixed up with the other one. But it was made just be made. Former PlayStation Studios boss Shuhei Yoshida, I think getting pretty good at pronunciating that, who served as a producer on The Legend of Dragoon during its tenure with the company, felt so strongly about the JRPG that he once crashed a stream of the game from gaming personality Kyle Bossman. Bossman suggested that Legend of Dragoon was meant to be Sony's own Final Fantasy VII, and Yoshida appeared in Twitch chat to say, no one told us to make any kind of game. We wanted to make this game. So shut your mouth, man. I ad-libbed. Yoshida remembered that moment with a laugh in a new interview with Bossman, and he recounted some of the Legend of Dragoon's early development history. One of the hires that I did was from Squaresoft. It was before the merger with Enix. Yoshida explained that person, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher the crap out of this. Yasuki Hasabe-san was one of the battle designers for Mario RPG. That's a great game, right? He designated the combat like timing input for turn-based battles, so you see the origin of Legend of Dragoon. Yoshida said that he didn't poach Hasabe-san from Square. The designer just applied to work at Sony. When he joined us, I asked him, what do you want to do? He said, I want to make a new RPG. And that's how I started gathering even more people to start making Legend of Dragoon. At the time, Yoshida said Final Fantasy VII was already announced, and the use of 3D graphics for the combat and the pre-rendered 3D CG, beautiful CG, for the backgrounds was amazing to us. Like, oh, this is the next generation kind of game. We were young and we were naive, and luckily I was given the assignment to grow the internal team. I was assigned to make the studio larger. I was given a free budget, almost to hire people. That one's kind of weird the way they phrased it. Oh, given a free budget almost, and to hire people. So the Legend of Dragoon cost $15 million, and a 100-person development team was quite an anomaly at the time. But Yoshida suggested that it happened almost by accident with the blank check Sony left him. I didn't even have a budget when I started because it was an internal production, so I was just hiring people, and in Japan, not many experienced people love companies. Hasabe himself was an outlier in that regard. And much of the rest of the Legend of Dragoon's development team was made up of young people right out of college or even some video game schools. And that's how the team was made. So, Pat was not a PlayStation RPG guy at that time. He didn't play the OG Final Fantasy VII, the greatest, number 8. He didn't play Legend of Dragoon. Probably didn't even play like Dark Cloud or anything like that. But Nick, my man here, did, and he can acknowledge The Legend of Dragoon was one of the greatest RPGs at that time. That's just a fact. And if you don't like that fact, I don't care. That was such a great RPG. And I only played it because of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII got me into the console RPGs at that time because of the 3D graphics, the 3D backgrounds, things like that. When this came out, I was like, oh man, this looks like that. I'm going to play it. And I loved it. I absolutely love that game. I think it's a great story. Some of the character names are kind of odd. Dart, Shayna, Bob, I can't remember the rest. There was just some of the weird naming conventions, but it was such a good RPG. It was the combat was so well done. The CG renderings and everything were just like, oh, for back in the day, Now it just looks like, crayon, but it was a fantastic game, and I don't think it could have came out at a better time. So, but we'll go to Nick, and then Pat's got any questions about it, he can ask one of us. Nick, Legend of Dragoon, I have my copy right back here, and it's a fantastic series. So tell the people why I'm correct.
You are correct. I have my copy over there as well.
Where's yours, Pat?
Non-existent.
His is in the mail.
It's on back order.
It's on back order.
Since the late night, since the mid 90s, it's been on back order.
Damn. Will they ever get that copy to you?
That damn FedEx can't do shit right.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one came out in 1999. So it was 2 years after Final Fantasy VII had came out. I'd always been an RPG lover at the time. So I played all the Final Fantasy games and a lot of JRPGs. I was a big fan of those types of games. Legend of Dragoon, I don't think I remember much about it like coming out at the time. I knew there was a new RPG coming out. But when I picked up Legend of Dragoon, it was really just I wanted to play an RPG. And I remember I went to the store because back then, you had magazines and stuff and some internet, but, wasn't really like it is today. So it was really word of mouth or just a magazine that you would see most games in, or just seeing it on the store shelf, right? Be like, that looks cool. That's really what you had to go by back then. So that was really it for Legend of Dragoon for me was that looks cool. It's an RPG. Didn't know how it was going to be, took it home, popped it in, and it was great. I was like, oh man, this game is awesome. And yeah, it's still a great, game. I'm surprised they haven't remade it or made a new one or, anything like that.
Even just an HD remaster, which
I'm surprised Sony hasn't done anything to it.
I think they did re-release it.
They were released it in 2023.
Yeah.
They did re-release it?
Yeah, but it's just a re-release. It's not.
Oh,
yeah. They didn't do anything. They just released it that it would work on the
modern stuff.
Modern console. Yeah.
So, yeah, I know because you can play it on PlayStation 5 or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, like, it was a really awesome RPG, but I mean, I love the fact of like, it almost seems like, one of the great things about games back then was kind of that mentality that he's talking about where, Super Mario RPG is a great RPG as well, right? They remade that one and I played through that one and beat that one. And I remember playing the game originally on the Super Nintendo back in the day and beating it then. But it was a great game and the combat system was great on that game as well. And so, for the, combat designer of Super Mario RPG to come in and say, and for Hashida to say like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to make a JRPG. And it was just really like, it felt like it was just the love of wanting to craft an RPG. Right. And
do you think he said, I want to make a JRPG, or do you think he said, I want to make an RPG?
Well, I think he said JRPG, but
do you think he said that? Even though they were over there in Japan, they said JRPG. It's not.
I don't know.
Do
they use that terminology?
I think that's a terminology we specify for those.
I mean, because they are different.
Well, I honestly,
back in the 90s, though, I think they just called them RPGs.
Yeah, because there wasn't a whole lot of Western RPGs.
There was
Western
some.
role play. There wasn't a lot.
Right.
And I don't think
he did say I want to make a new RPG, not a JRPG, but I guess
don't put words.
I
in his
wonder
mouth.
though if that terminology did. I mean, that's a side story, but I wonder if that terminology, because there is a difference between a RPG and a JRPG, right?
Yes. If a Western versus
a Western versus an Asian style, right? If you play one or the other, you'll know like, okay, this is how these are. And I love JRPGs as much as I love RPGs. And so, it just depends on what mood I'm in and on which one I want to play, right? Because they are different play styles, right? Completely. But it's really cool that, he came over. They're like, hey, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to make an RPG. So he's like, here you go. And it was just the love of it, right? Like, hey, go for it, make something. And they made something really cool. So I like that fact, right? Nowadays, I don't think you could do that. It doesn't seem like it, right? And especially $15 million, that's quite a bit for back in development, it came out in 1999. So development probably started in, I don't know, they didn't say how long development lasted, did they, or when they started it?
Well, I think he did say that the trailer and everything out for Final Fantasy VII had already been out. Right.
So so Final Fantasy VII came out in 1997, I believe.
Yeah.
So
it was a 2-year development cycle, which is probably about right.
Right.
I would.
Or 2 or 3 years, depending. Yeah. I mean, because if you said the trailer, because the game came out in 1997, so the trailer probably released maybe a year before that or something like that.
So it could have been a 3-year development cycle. And that'd be about right for them.
Right. But $15 million, that's a lot for back then, right?
Well, like you said, also a 100-man team on it.
Right. And a lot of them out of college, out of school.
Yep.
Like, I wonder what a lot of those developers and artists and stuff like that went on to do. Like, did they stick with Sony or did they go on to other development studios and stuff like that, and what all that team has worked on since then. But it's just really cool, and I really love. It did become a cult classic and a fan favorite. It is a really good RPG. There was a lot like that. Like I said, I was a big RPG fan, so I played a lot of the niche RPGs and everything like that. Because and ones that probably didn't get a lot of traction, or at least I didn't think so. Probably were more popular than I thought. But I like to play all those different kinds of. I love RPGs, and you never know what you're going to come across. So sometimes I mean, nowadays it's a little bit easier to get some ideas of a game, but back then it wasn't. So you just kind of went off of word of mouth. Like I said, magazine articles, or just. That game looks cool. I'm going to buy it, on the shelf. You just look at the pictures on the back and the little description. And you're like, all right, I'll try it.
What does Game Informer say about it? I mean, that was, really what it come down to. And just real quick, this is a kind of an oddity for a JRPG. So just going off of Google here. So I could be wrong. So according to Google, by 2007, the game had sold over 280,000 copies in Japan. But in North America, they sold 823,000. That's surprising numbers, honestly, because you would think that game would have excelled, a lot more in Japan compared to North America, especially with the popularity of Final Fantasy VII prior to it, because that's the only reason I bought it. I saw a few things in magazines and whatnot, but it was like, oh, cool. This looks like it could be, kind of like Final Fantasy VII. That's the reason. That's where my mind went. Because, like I said, I wasn't a big console RPG guy at that time, but ended up loving it. So, but yeah, the numbers kind of surprised me. So it's 3 times the amount in North America. Cool. I want a remaster. Full done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I wasn't playing any of that stuff because I didn't own a PS1. I was still playing on the Saturn and the N64 back in those days. So,
yep. He was just saying, baby.
Saturn's still a good one. I didn't have a Saturn, but my cousin did. Yep. And I remember going over there and playing a lot of cool Saturn games. There was one that was it was a tactical RPG. What is it? What was that big one on Sega? Like Shining Heroes or
Shining Force?
maybe Shining Force or might have been.
Pretty sure it was Shining Force.
Yeah, I think that sounds familiar.
But it is a wonderful story because I like how the game was created. It was just it wasn't a competitive thing. It was just they wanted to do it, and they brought in new blood, new ideals, and they did. They made an incredible game. I mean, it didn't hit Final Fantasy VII numbers. It didn't, but I think the following for it warrants a full HD, from the ground up remake of it. At least a solid remaster.
Yeah, that would be cool if they did.
Yeah, and one thing you said, Nick, be kind of interesting. VH1, where are they now? Kind of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, like they did a really good job with this game, so I'm wondering, like,
pop-up videos.
Oh man, we're really going back.
Ooh, way back machine.
But yeah, I mean, I wonder what a lot of the, I mean, some of them may have quit and did other things, but I wonder, like, where some, I bet you some of these 100-person development team, I bet you some of these went on to make some or work on some pretty cool games with different studios and stuff. So,
yep. Yeah, I think it would be really interesting to see some, where they started to where they're at now. I mean, you have your big names that, you can kind of follow that, but, the art directors or the character designers, where are they? Because, some people have a just, you see a face and you know exactly who designed that. But, it'd be kind of interesting to see where they're going with it. But anyways, I brought up the name at the beginning. So the character names are Feld, Labbit Slambert, Shauna, Rose, typical, female names, Haschel. And then of course every Japanese RPG has to have an Albert. It's a law, I believe. And then Meru, Congo, and Miranda. So just some of the names. That's I can remember Darts and Shauna's, but some of the other names, they had some weird names.
Yeah, I mean, I love like all the. I mean, for me, like I love all the history stuff about video games. There's like the original. He has a YouTube channel. I can't remember his name. I was trying to search for it, but he has the original Fallout, and he talks about the development and interplay and how they made Fallout and how that kind of came about and Fallout 2 and all that stuff, like how that whole development cycle and everything. And I've watched all, the videos of him talking about that. And it's really interesting stuff to learn about how all these games came, the ideas and like, all the back end deals and everything that kind of came up with these, how everything kind of fleshed out,
Yeah. I don't know. Games like this, just, they hit a spot in my history. These are the types of games that kind of guide me into a direction where I'm going to play more types of these games. They hit you in that one spot, like, Final Fantasy VII pushed me into that direction. And that game kept me fully immersed into the JRPG world from then on. So I just thought it was an interesting article. I thought it was interesting the way that, basically he was saying this was not done out of competition. It was just done because we wanted to, done for passion. And those are what makes great games. Pat?
Timothy Kane. Sorry. Timothy Kane is the original Fallout. And if you look up his YouTube, you can, he talks about the original Fallout and Fallout 2 and like how that all kind of about. It's really interesting stuff. So,
well, we need to email him, tell him to do a VH1 on this thing.
He pretty much has. He does talk about other people that worked at Interplay and stuff and where they went.
Oh, cool. Pat, look up videos on this game and then go play it. I'll let you borrow my copy. I'll let you borrow my copy.
I won't play it.
It's too old for Pat. He won't.
It's too old for me.
I know, but you're missing out. But it is an old game. It just is. So, I mean, in games like this.
If they remake it, maybe I will. I probably will if they remake it. But
oh, yeah.
if they don't remake it, I won't.
Hey, if Pat's back order comes in, he'll finally play.
I don't have a PS1. So
I think we can hook you up. But anyways, you guys got anything else to add? Pat, you've talked too much. You be quiet. All right. Everybody, thanks you for making it to the end here. And again, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit those notifications. Most importantly, feedback. Love feedback. Good, bad, prefer the good. But, you know, we take what we get, but we will respond to you in kind. Just remember that. So don't be hurt. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you play Legend of Dragoon? Do you feel passionately like I do and Nick does? Do you know where they are now? Let us know in the comments below. And until next time, see ya.